Our Sunday school lesson for this week is Feast with Wisdom, and I am joined by the Southeastern Diocese President, Dr. Kris Smith. How are you doing, Kris?
I'm doing great, How about you, sir?
So far, so good, man. Houston is doing pretty bad with this COVID crisis right now, and I want to ask you, you're a medical professional, so how do you see this whole COVID crisis thing playing out?
Look, I think this is something that it's not going away. I think it's something that we're going to have to get used to. We talk about how we want to get things back to normal, but we have to be prepared for a quote unquote new normal.
Wow.
It may be normal for us to wear masks when we go out. The days of hugging and shaking hands may be done just because of the fact that, this virus is so unpredictable. Being transparent, where I work, we had a colleague of mine to actually get it. And this particular colleague was asymptomatic, meaning they didn't have any symptoms whatsoever. But they were still at risk of, transferring that virus. And so, we all had to get tested. And thankfully, we came back negative. But that's going to be the normal but I think that things will kind of get better as we learn more about the virus.
Right.
There's still a lot that we don't know about it. And there's still a lot that we're learning, still developing vaccine and a possible treatment for it. But I do believe that it's something that is not going away anytime soon, and that we'll have to, prepare for a new normal. And we're seeing that already. Yeah.
Well, I think that ties directly into the lesson for this week when we talk about wisdom, knowing what is good. Our lesson is coming from Proverbs chapter 9, verses 1 through 6, 8 through 10, and 13 through 18. The lesson focuses, build your life on the pillars of God's wisdom, not decaying folly. So I think I'll take the first outline, Proverbs 9, 1 through 6, 8 through 10. And Kris, I'm going to let you take verses 13 through 18. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Well, let's jump on in here. The first outline is an invitation to wisdom's table. And when I hear invitation, the thing that really sticks out in my mind is somebody wants you to come. And if you think about that, just that concept, somebody wants, and it's not like you're just, people who do Zoom bombing and things of that nature where you showed up uninvited. God is calling us into wisdom. He's saying, matter of fact, it said in James, if any man wants wisdom, literally just ask, and I'll give it to you. Verse 4 says, whoso is simple, let him turn in, accept the invitation. As for him that wanteth understanding, she says to him, come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish. In the NIV, it says, leave your simple ways, walk in the way of insight. And what I wanted to really focus on in this first lesson is the first outline, I should say, is the invitation. God wants us to make good decisions. God wants the best life for us. He says, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, thoughts of you to prosper. He wants us to live our best life, to use that term generically. And we have to be willing to accept the invitation, accept God into our life, accept and surrender that we don't know what's best for us, but we can come and sit at the table of wisdom and prepare ourselves to make the best decisions. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Kris. Proverbs 9, 13 through 18. What stood out to you?
What stood out to me, it's funny that you were talking about the invitation, focusing on the invitation. This particular section of it is called Folly's Call and its Results. And it focuses on folly, or what we like to term foolishness, which we like to say is the opposite of wisdom. And you talked about invitation. Just like wisdom, folly invites you to come in. You know what I'm saying? Folly invites you to the house, or to the table, so to speak. If you look at verse 14, she sits at the door of her house on a seat at the highest point of the city, calling out to those who pass by, who go straight on their way. Let all who are simple come to my house. So folly is inviting us in too. The only difference is with this, this invitation is so that folly can take from you, versus inviting you to sit at the table and share with you, such as what wisdom does. Folly does the opposite in that they don't want to share life with you. They want to take from you. They want to, what we like to call, consume you. And then understanding that that the thing about it is that when folly calls you, folly entices you with sweetness. Folly invites you to come in with those things that kind of appeal to your pleasure. And you have to be careful about that, because a lot of times when we fall into our pleasures, those things that we want to experience, those things that we want to have, we're focusing on ourselves. And the Bible talks about that being temporary. And in this case, in the last verse, it says that, but little do they know that they are dead there. Wow. And the guests are deep in the realm of the dead. So eventually that way leads to destruction. That way leads to death. And so we want to avoid folly or foolishness as much as we can.
Wow. Now I'm gonna ask you a question, because you used the word pleasure a couple of times. And I think there may be somebody who's listening saying, well, I thought we were supposed to enjoy life. I thought we were supposed to have the abundant life, but you're making pleasure sound like it's folly. So where would you say the line is between pleasing God and pleasure? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where would you say that line is?
I would say you would draw the line at the point of, does my pleasure take me away from the focus, which is God? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does it pull me away from a relationship with God? Does it become my idol? Does it become something I worship versus the one true living God? And I believe that if we take a look at that message and look at that and answer that question, then we can determine if some of the pleasures of life, if we should participate in, or if we should act on, because we have to ask ourselves, is it taking us away from God, or is it bringing us closer to God?
Wow. That's a great answer. And listen. This is why we study, to show ourselves approved, because we don't want to be led unawares into folly. We want to make sure we're doing the very best we can to please God in all we do and say. So remember to continue to study your Sunday school lessons. Keep supporting your local church stream financially and through attendance. Sunday school teachers, continue reaching out to your students. Students, reach out to your teachers. Let them know that you care about them. You miss them. And churches, don't forget about your young people. Make sure you continue to make them a priority. Dr. Kris, if people forget everything we said this morning, what is the one thing you think they should remember?
I think they should remember that, I think they should remember the fact that you have a choice. You have a choice to choose to follow Christ, to choose to accept his invitation, to choose to receive the wisdom that he has to impart on you. But you also must be aware that there's also an enemy that is disguising himself as God to try to take you away. And so it's very important just to be aware of what's going on. Yeah.
That sounds good. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.